talking about?
Don't Let Go. So when
Oh no, no, this was so Sylvia Rhone, our label head, came to us and said, I have a song, since you guys are in between albums, we were just getting ready to do the EV3 album. So this was after, Born to Sing, Funky Divas, and Runaway Love, and we were in between. And she said, there's a song that I think is incredible. You guys would make it a hit. It's called Don't Let Go, and it was written by Organized Noise, who is Rico Wade and Organized Noise. And the writers actually of the song, he produced it, the music, and he had his team of people produce the music. But the writers for the song was Andrea Martin and Ivan Batias. And they just had this incredible song. I loved it right away. I think Cindy and Maxine loved it too. And Terry was the only one kind of fighting against it, because anytime we would get a song that was not Denny and Tommy's song, she did not like it very much. She would fight against it. And I'm like, okay, Terry, just because he's your man doesn't mean that he always has hits for us. Like, there's other people that can write for us too. We had done Silent Night with Chucky Booker. It was a Christmas song. So we had hits with other people, and she just kind of fought it. So we had to really kind of force her hand with that song. Like, this is a hit. We're going to record it. There's 3 against 1. So she had to sing it. And it turned out to be our biggest hit to date.
But whose idea was it that you would? How does it work when it comes to who sings lead and how it goes? Was it the producers that?
Yeah.
Oh, what was okay?
Yeah, a lot of times it's them, because they think after hearing us over the years, like Denny and Tommy knew what we sounded like, so they would always say, "Okay, Dawn, you're going to sing this one. Terry on this one. Maxine, Cindy." So, but with other people, because they knew our sound, they would say, okay, automatically, I think Dawn would be great for this. Oh, no, I think Maxine would be better on this song. Or Cindy's voice really fits the song. So that's how they would do it. And with Don't Let Go, it was that way. They thought that I would sound good singing lead. And then the record company came in and said, we don't want Dawn to sing lead because she's going to be leaving the group.
Oh, well.
Yeah, we're going to be kicking her out. So we want to make sure that Cindy and Terry Maxine sing the lead with her so that she doesn't have the bulk of the song. And it's because I had done, so Terry was offered a solo album by our record company before me. She did her album. We supported it. The record company supported it, had, tour support, given her tour support. She did a video for her single. Maxine, Cindy and I went to her first show at the Pantages in Los Angeles and supported her first show because she was launching a tour. So we were right there with her, and then the record company offered me a solo album. Ooh. So basically the record company knew that we were it was divide and conquer, what they thought was going to be divide and conquer, because they knew that we were going to renegotiate our contract. They found out that we were upset that we were only making 2 pennies a record. We had agreed, the 4 of us, Cindy, Maxine, Terry, and Dawn, the 4 of us agreed, we're not going in the studio to sing 1 note until they renegotiate our contract for better terms. We've done 3 albums at this point. Runaway Love was just an EP, but it was still an album.
Yeah.
And we're still not making money, and there's a problem here. So finally, we all agreed that we were not going to go in the studio. We were going to stand our ground. We were not going to go in the studio and record anything until they renegotiate our contract. Denny, I don't know how it happened, but he called us back and was like, okay, you guys. So this is what happened. Terry went in and did her solo album. It was Divide and Conquer. Terry's over here recording. You guys can't do anything without her. So you're going to wait until Terry's done, and then maybe you guys can come back together. So by then, you'll take whatever deal we give you because you're hard up. You need money. So you're going to take whatever it is we put on the table. And sure enough, we did that second album under the same terms as the first. And with the EV3 album, we never renegotiated either. We never oh my God, I forgot about that. We never renegotiated for that. But by then, the record company had come to Terry to do a solo album first. Then they came to me. And it's going to be like, okay, so Dawn and Terry are over here. They're in the studio. They're busy. So Maxine and Cindy, you guys are desperate. And now you have to wait for Dawn and Terry to come back. And then maybe Terry was done with her album. She was getting ready to go on tour, like I said, and we supported her. And then the record company came to me and said, well, Dawn, we're not serious about your album right now. We're just going to go in and do an En Vogue album. And I was like, what? Wait a minute. Because I had recorded some incredible material, and Sylvia Rhone loved it at Atlantic Records. She loved it. And I'm like, so you took Terry's album seriously, but you didn't take my album seriously? Like, I'm feeling some kind of way about that.
Sylvia Rhone that changed her mind?
The only one. The only Sylvia Rhone, yeah. Change her mind about what?
About your record. She loved it first, and then she decided not to release it.
She didn't change her mind about loving the song. She still loved them, but she played a game with me. She had me in the studio to keep me busy, not necessarily because she was serious about putting my album out. She put Terry in the studio for the same reason. And that's why I was telling her, Terry's album, I'm sorry, no shade to Terry, I'm not being mean. I didn't like her album. It was called, I liked her single. It was called Whatever. It was a ballad. I loved it, but I didn't like the rest of her album. So in other words, you took Terry seriously, but you didn't take me seriously. And I have a problem with that. So I will stay in Vogue, but I want you to let me go as a solo artist. You have to set me free. I want my rights as a solo artist to be revoked. And I'm going to go someplace else as a solo artist, but I'm going to continue to put Vogue first. In other words, we started, like she said, we're going to start the next Vogue album, which became EV3. And I was like, that's fine. Because I never allowed my solo project. By this time, I had a deal on the table with, did I have a deal on the table? I think with, I was going to say MC Hammer, with Dr. Dre, but I didn't sign directly to him. I signed to Aftermath. But I never allowed my side project or solo project to interfere with the En Vogue album. I still recorded every day. I was at the studio. Sometimes I was late, but I was always late. But I was in 5 minutes, 7 minutes late, but I was always there. And I recorded that whole album with them. And then they came to, Sylvia Rhone flew to Los Angeles and said, we're going to have a creative meeting. And I got to Terry's room. And again, I was late for that meeting and everybody was there ahead of me. And when I got there, they were already in the middle of the conversation talking about, well, we can't have any hidden agendas. And Dawn, so we know that you're doing a solo album. You can't do that if you're still in the group. And I was like, Sylvia, you already know that I'm in the group. And you already know that I'm doing a solo album. Has any point that we've been recording this third album or, a real album, because like I said, Runaway Love was not a real album, it was an EP. So what would have been, I guess, EV4. Yeah. So Born to Sing, Funky Divas, Runaway Love, and then EV3 it was supposed to be EV4. I said, at no point has my solo situation over there with Dr. Dre, has that interfered in any way with me being in the studio? Has it interrupted the flow of anything? Like, I'm here. I recorded everything with you guys. I don't understand why you're kicking me out. And what's different about me doing a solo album and Terry doing a solo album? Terry did hers first. What's different about that? And Terry turned to me and she said, it just is, Dawn. It just is. Like, really nasty and very indignant. And I was like, what? How is that different? No, you have to explain that to me because it's not different. You are an artist in this group as well. You're just the same amount of time in Vogue as I have had. In fact, I'm probably a few hours more than you because I was there at the audition and Terry was late because she had bad weather coming in from Houston. So she didn't get there until late at night. I was there all day. So I have a few hours more than you in the group, seniority wise. And yeah, I'm being funny, but I mean, really, it's like there is no difference between you doing a solo album and me doing a solo album. Are you kidding me? What makes you better than me? What makes what you did okay and what I did not okay? You guys are kicking me out of the group because I did exactly what Terry did.
No, but what was the reason? No, I think I'm a little lost. Sylvia just decided, well, we don't need you in the group.
No, she was pissed off because I slighted her. When she didn't take my solo album seriously, I told her, okay, I'll do the En Vogue album, but I want my solo rights revoked, remember?
Yeah.
So when I told her that, she's like, oh, so you're going to play me? Yeah, I'm going to play you just like you played me. I didn't appreciate that you didn't take my solo album seriously, but you took Terry's album seriously. You played a game with me. You used me as a pawn because you kept me from renegotiating with Cindy and Terry and Maxine, Cindy and Maxine. So the three of us, while Terry was in the studio doing her solo album, we couldn't renegotiate. And then she came to me. That made it even worse. So now it's just Cindy and Terry over there, and Cindy and Maxine over there, and me and Terry over here doing our solo project. So you took Terry's album seriously. And when she didn't take mine seriously, I was like, no, you're going to let me go. You're going to cut me loose as a solo artist, and I'll stay in the group in Vogue and do what I have to do. I will fulfill my obligation to in Vogue, but I want you to let me go as a solo artist over here. And I will still record within Vogue, but I want you to let me go as a solo artist. And she was pissed at that. So because I slighted her, she was going to teach me a lesson. And that's why when Terry said it's just different, because her and Sylvia had made that agreement with each other. It wasn't different. And Maxine sat on the floor. I walked into the room and Maxine was sitting on the floor in Terry's room. And I'm like, Max, why don't you say something? It isn't any different. Cindy, you're hearing exactly what's happening right now. You heard Terry just say it's different because it's her doing a solo album as opposed to me doing a solo album. You guys both need to be asking, why is that different? Why is that any different? Terry did a solo album. We should be kicking her out as well, just like Dawn. Or we keep Dawn and we keep Terry both. We shouldn't be kicking Dawn out. But if you're going to treat one, way, if you're going to treat Dawn that way, then you should treat Terry the same exact way.
Yeah, but was this after you'd already released Don't Let Go?
No. Oh, yeah. After that, yeah. But we were all in the group. We all sang it together.
But so you sang most of the beginning and most of the, so you're prominent in that. But then the singles out it's the biggest song out there.
And Sylvia let me go. She let me go at the wrong time. That was my saving grace, that I sang lead on the biggest hit we had. Cindy, Terry, Maxine, they all thought that they were going to do better without me. One monkey don't stop no show, as they say here in America. One person missing doesn't make the whole thing fall apart. And I made the whole thing fall apart.
Yeah, because I think what happened was that the singer was so big. As I said, you were very prominent with it.
Exactly.
And then they come out with E3 and it's just the three of them. And it didn't matter even if all your vocals were on it. I think it just things that just don't work,
Well, and also I agree with you, Namdi. It's also that your karma is affected, meaning, anytime you do wrong by someone and you purposely hurt them on purpose, that karma comes back to you, whether it's right away, immediately, or it's like years down the road. I believe in karma. And I know that for a fact that album did not, they thought, okay, Dawn's gone, whatever. We're going to do EV3 and we're going to put EV3 out, even though my vocals were supposed to be wiped clean of that album. I can hear me all over that record.
Okay, in all the Wikipedias and stuff, it says they re-recorded the vocals without you, but
no.
Yeah,
oh,
okay.
No.
But I think
Cindy did add a couple parts on, like what is this? The song "Whatever" by Babyface. They recorded my part over, but I can hear myself in the. Babyface admitted it. He's like, I couldn't take you off the song.
Yeah.
I had to pull your vocals back in the cut, so I pulled you way back in the track. But you can still hear you because I needed you there. You were the glue that kept them both together. One piece missing out of a group, it's not the group anymore. So he was like, I'm not taking you all the way at 100%.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I remember when the album it came out, and it just seeing the three of them. I think for the whole community, everyone said, "No, we're not. We couldn't invest in something that's not legit. It just didn't seem right."
Wow.
Wow. Because it's. I'm just trying to think. Can you imagine if when you have, and you guys were very fortunate. You didn't really have lead singers. But imagine intro, Kenny G passes away, and then you want to still have intro. It doesn't work. Or when or when Freddie Mercury passed away, and Queen says, "Well, we're going to release it." Well, no, your lead singer's gone. There is the spark in there, and I think you leaving at that critical. I mean, most of the fans. Now, I must admit, as fans, we were like, oh, we had the placards down with Dawn. How could she leave?
Of course.
Especially after that, because all we saw
Yeah.
was, you know, the biggest hit, and then you just disappeared. There was no
I
sort
was
of, you didn't,
gone.
yeah, you didn't come out
Well,
and say,
I didn't have the power of the press to be able to tell my side of the story.
yeah,
I was just as shocked. I was depressed for a very long time. Almost didn't get out of bed for a while.
wow,
Because I didn't like it. And I saw the album cover and I felt the same way with just the three of them. I'm like, wow, I helped build that group. Maxine, Cindy, and Terry did not speak for me on my behalf and say, wait a minute, we can't kick Dawn out. That's what I'm saying. It's like, you kick me out of the group, but you keep Terry. And Terry's the one who did the solo album first. There was no reason for them to kick me out. I didn't do anything wrong. So that's why I still, to this day, it's like, it's so shitty to me. And I have to say it like that because it's exactly what it was. You guys held me accountable or held me to a certain standard that you did not hold Terry to. But Terry did her solo album first and you kept her in the group. I did my solo album second and you kicked me out of the group. I don't understand that.
Yeah, and you know, and I remember interviewing Timmy Gatlin from Guy about the same sort of situation where he's, you know, the manager pops in and pushes him out, and how the album comes out with his picture, but he's not in any of the videos and stuff.
Wow.
And you know, Groove Me comes out and he's there writing the song, but then when the video comes out, he sees the album, biggest thing, his pictures on it, but he's not in any of the videos and stuff.
Oh, why didn't he sue? That's different. That's a little more blatant.
No, well, no. So yeah. So, but I think from his point of view, it was that sense of, you know, Teddy, Riley, and Aaron Hall. How come you guys did not stand up for me?
Yep.
But then he I think there's that recollection that people, when you have an opportunity, there's a fear that if we do take your side, we all lose out and we all go out, and so that sense of you're facing almost Armageddon and you're not sure what to do. You always go for the safest option.
I understand the fear because we don't know what a record company is capable of, especially at that time. Now it would have been like, fuck you guys, fuck the record company, fuck Denny and Tommy. We are all standing together. We are in Vogue, and without us, Cindy, Terry, Maxine, and Dawn, we have solidarity. Without us four, you don't have an album. Without us four, you don't have revenue at the end of the year for the record company to be able to make those millions that they were making off of us. We were the ones who had the power.
Yeah, no. So, yeah. So as I said, the album comes out. It doesn't do well at all. As I said, we look at it and say, "Oh, it's not the same sort of thing," and it doesn't do well. From your point of view, and I know you mentioned you were struggling, just, you know, seeing it being promoted. But when you notice it wasn't doing well and it wasn't well received, especially after your first two albums, what were you thinking about what was going on?
I was so happy.
Okay.
I'm not going to lie about it. I was happy because they did the wrong thing. This is my point. We had agreed on something, the four of us together, without the record company, without our producers, without our management. We four agreed. Maxine, Cindy, the four girls that make this group what it is, these plaques on the wall, we made all the people that have these plaques rich. If it wasn't for us four, they wouldn't have had those and the money that went with them. We didn't have the money, but we had the plaques.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like, so if we agreed that we were not going to do a certain thing or that we were going to stand down and stand in solidarity with each other, then why didn't they have my back when I was being kicked out? I don't understand that. I get it that you guys are afraid, but we have power. And I guess they didn't know how much power we really had at that time.
Yeah, but you also have to, you know, I'm always going to reflect back to, you started off by portraying a very strong role model in your life who did something that most families wouldn't do. And
what's that?
Your mom taking you guys from Connecticut.
Oh, my mother. Yeah.
Without seeing where she was going, and she was like, "We're going to be strong. I'm going to do this." Now that's so you set a you know, almost like you're writing a story, and you pretty much, here's this is the beginning, and so it makes sense how you have this sense of no fear, we can take risk. you have then, so then I listen to that, and I start reflecting, well, does everyone else have that same, could they start off with a story like that? And if they don't, it's quite easy.
But I told them in that meeting, that last meeting in Terry's room, in the hotel room, in front of Sylvia Rhone from the label, in front of our managers, and in front of our attorneys who were also in the room, I said, Cindy and Maxine, you guys one day could be in the same position as me, sitting right here on the hot seat, being kicked out of the group just like me. And Cindy was like, yeah, I got to think about that. Yeah. So I warned them. It wasn't, and then Maxine ended up getting kicked out 2 years after me. Same thing.
Yeah. But then, okay. But so if, yeah, so as I said, it is something, but so the album doesn't do well.
Right.
Somebody asked a question here. D-Hawk was asking, how was it mentally for you in the midst of being sort of, they've moved on without you, and that sense of no deal?
It was horrible. I mean, think about it. Just, I know people are asking questions, but just think about what that would mean. See, it's totally different when you're in the limelight. If a job kicks, you get fired from your 9-to-5 job.
Yeah.
You and your family may know about it. You and a few coworkers talk about it, and that's about it. You go on with your day, you get your check, and you never go back to that job again.
Yeah.
And it doesn't affect you as much. You might be a little bit upset about it, but you go on and find a new job and you figure it out. And you're not embarrassed by the job going on without you.
Yeah.
But in this case, it was huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Vogue was massive around the world. So of course I was numb.
Yeah.
I was bitter. I was angry. I was sad. I was like, I called Maxine the next day after that meeting, and I said, Max, okay, I've decided that, I forgot what I told her, and she said, no, we already decided that you're out, Dawn. And I was like, what? What do you mean I'm out? Like, this is not fair. You guys are not talking to me about anything. You're just deciding that I'm out of the group, and she kind of like, I gotta go. I'm going to rehearsal. What? Okay, what? So we were supposed to have a fitting to do the cover for Don't Let Go. And I went to that meeting. I went to that fitting and I did the photo shoot.
Had the video come out?
And then Sydney, it was,
Did the video, had it already come out by the meeting?
No, we had done the video, but we didn't do the photo shoot for the single cover. So this is what we were doing, the fitting for the single. I said video, but I meant the single cover. And my manager called me and she said, Dawn, because she's from London, she says, Dawn, Dawnie, that you have to leave. The girls don't want you there. Huh? No, I'm not leaving, Trudy. Yes, Dawn, you have to leave. The girls don't want you there. I said, well, I'm going to take a few pictures before I leave. So I tried on a few clothes because I was there first.
Yeah.
And the girls didn't want me there. And it was just nasty. It was so nasty in hindsight. It wouldn't be so bad if, okay, that was an isolated situation. They didn't know any better. This was early back in the day before we knew the power that we really had as in Vogue. But when I came back in 2009.
Oh, no, before we get there, though, because we
okay.
did. Yeah.
All right,
I think,
I'm jumping ahead, huh?
Yeah, I think what people have to realize that, so Sylvia Rhone, who ran Elektra, was one of the first Black female label executives, and she's responsible for a lot of careers from Keith Sweat, Yolanda Adams, Missy, lots of people. But, there is the achievement as a Black record executive, but there is the sense of also playing, really successful, built a lot of good bands and stuff. But I think if people who study the industry from the outside in understand that you do that, there it's a hard game to try and fight. I spoke to Rift, Nitty Green and Rift, and how when they lost their record deal with SBK, they got blacklisted by everybody, and they said don't sign them, and everyone sort of comes together and says, yep, if we're working as a clan here, if one group doesn't want you, we're not coming in. So it's, I won't call this a boys club, but it's a close, they protect themselves, and it's quite easy to get blacklisted, and people can be afraid to stand up against them. So imagine these three thinking, oh, if we stand up against us, no, I don't know. As I said, I'm just.
Well, I'm trying to tell you, just because you're talking along, and I don't want to cut in, but
yeah, go ahead.
It was different and Vogue was global.
Yeah, definitely.
We had a lot more power. I don't know who Riff is. I'm sure they're amazing, but I don't know who they are over here. So when it came to En Vogue, we had more power. Of course they were afraid. I get it. I really do. But Terry's indignant answer to me when I asked what was different about me doing a solo album than Terry. She did a solo album and I did one. So you're kicking me out of the group, but Terry's staying in the group. What's different about Terry turned to me and said that, not the record label. So Terry had it in for me. I don't know what it was, but like I said, and it made common sense that when I called Maxine the next day, it was just her and I on the phone. So without the record company around, without our producers and all these people that would intimidate you, it's just us. Let's get Cindy and Terry on the phone so that we can make sure, like, okay, Dawn, you were right what you said. It's just the four of us. Terry did a solo album, but we're kicking you out for doing the same thing. So we need to talk about this because you're absolutely right. It's not fair. And we need to find out what our rights are and go to our attorney. You know, when we first left the MC Hammer tour, we did an MC Hammer tour in 1990. Yeah, our first year. we did a promo tour. We went overseas. We came back, and then MC Hammer asked us to do a tour with him. And I guess Cindy had a conversation with him, and she told him that we were only making 2 pennies a record, and he was dumbfounded. He could not believe it. Like, what is going on? You ladies are the biggest things on the charts, and you're only making 2 cents a record. Okay, when we get back from the tour, I'm going to pay for you guys to go see my attorney in Los Angeles, bring your contracts and ask questions. Figure it out. In other words, Cindy, Terry, and Maxine could have said the same thing. Let's figure this out. Let's figure it out before we kick you out of the group. We can do the same thing that MC Hammer did in 1990. This is 97, 7 years later, and we're no smarter than we were back then. No, if MC Hammer said take the time to find out what's going on, then they should have done the same thing.
But I thought Sylvia Rhone said you're out of the group, and they have to.
She gave me an ultimatum. She was putting on her coat because she had a flight to catch back to New York. She said so, and she stood up and she said, "So we need to know if you're going to be in the group or not." And I said right then on the spot, well, if you're asking me if I'm going to leave and be on my own, I said, it's been 8 years. We've been with you for 8 years now. And all of a sudden I have to believe that you have our backs after 8 years. Where were you 8 years ago? 7 years ago, 6 years ago, 5 years ago? Where were you then? Now all of a sudden you have our backs and I'm supposed to believe it's going to be different now than it was 8 years ago. And that's when she said, well, I guess you're pretty much saying that you're out. And I was like, I don't know. I have to think about it. And I got on the elevator. We all went downstairs at the same time. And I was kind of out of body. Because this is my life. I helped build this for 8 years. And now you're telling me that I have to decide if I have to. So basically, this is how I always put it. If you want to compromise with someone, you give them a choice. You don't say it's our way or you're out. And that's what they were basically doing. I said to her, I said, so you're just saying now I'm out of the group? That because I'm not complying with what you want me to do, that I'm out of this group? That's what you're telling me? That's not fair. You know, and I kept saying, Terry did a solo album too. And I did the same thing. You came to me to do the solo album. I did the solo album on Atlantic Records with you, Sylvia Rhone. You offered Terry a solo album. She did her solo album. You offered me a solo album. I started recording mine and didn't even finish when you came to tell me that we're doing the En Vogue album. So then, I took it upon myself, you know.
So when E3 didn't do well, did Sylvia drop them or did she just give them another chance?
No, because she did Masterpiece Theater. Remember, that came after EV3.
Okay. And that, yeah, okay, I can't even remember that album, but then.
Yeah, it's such a great album, though, I got to say. I love EV3. It just hurts my heart to hear it because I can hear my voice, but I never got paid for that album. So that's hard. What's it gonna be? I can't pretend. Don't you wanna be more than friends? All the time, don't let go. Don't let go. You have to run. Yeah, yeah. Ooh. I often we could be more than just friends. I know you think that we moved too soon, but all is I live in misery when you're not around. No, I won't be satisfied till we take you over. There'll be there'll be some what's it gonna be? 'Cause I can't stand your love. It won't be. Ooh, yeah. Don't have a right to lose control.
It's amazing. Now, what goes through your mind when you're singing it? Because you're closing your eyes, you're almost as if you're being transported somewhere.
Well, yeah, you got to feel the song when you're singing it. You can't just stand there and stare and not emote. You know what I mean? So you're feeling the song. It's a beautiful song. It takes me back to the beginning. I'm watching. You see, I have the video here.
Okay, you're playing from the video. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the video and I'm seeing us, and it just reminds me of my childhood again with them, the early years.